Commission meeting, April the 5th. I want to test you, April the 5th, 2023. The weather is perfect, so we shouldn't have any problem with that tonight. At this time, we have a call to order, a roll call, that is.
Commissioner Lopez,
Here.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Here.
Commissioner Gomez, Vice Chair Shively,
Here.
Chair Hammond.
Here. Thank you. Oh, she was going to do it, but at this time, oh, you're doing it. We have a Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Gomez.
Commissioner Gomez. Someone else?
Okay, please stand.
Thank you very much. Item 4 is presentation. I don't believe we have one this evening. And we move on to 5, consent calendar. We have 2 items on consent calendar, so we'll go one by one. Item A, Planning Commission minutes for March 15, 2023. And B is street naming review 23-05015, a proposal to name 2 streets within tentative parcel map number 38375, located south of Nuevo Road, north of San Jacinto Avenue, and west of Dunlap Drive within the Park West Specific Plan, applicant PW Land Investments LP. Item A, are there any corrections, deletions, additions to item A? Okay.
All no.
Okay. Now, should we vote on it en masse or just one at a time?
One at a time if you would like to, or all together. Either works.
Okay. Okay. Would any of the commissioners like to pull any of these items since we have them? Okay. Okay. Planning Commission minutes, we'll do them both together then. Street naming review 23-05015, the proposal to name 2 streets within tentative parcel map 38375, located south of Nuevo Road, north of San Jacinto Avenue, west of Dunlap Drive, within the Park West Specific Plan. I'm going to ask this anyway. They requested action to approve street naming review 23-05015. This is no objections for A. For item B, do any of the planning commissioners have any, I can imagine, but ex parte communication or site visits? Okay.
Only the meeting from yesterday, or the last week.
Oh, the
The last planning commission meeting.
okay, okay. Any item for the street naming review? Were there any? Okay, okay. I guess we could go through the whole process for that one.
You want to pull it?
One that they're asking for approval of the street names. Were there any discussion concerning the street names, or would like to add to it or delete? Or,
I have no issues with the street names. I'm okay with those.
okay.
Same as
Okay.
Commissioner Lopez. I had thought about Park Village Road, but I thought it would be confusing with Park West Drive and Park Village Road.
Okay. But, I guess, are you okay with okay. Commissioner, Vice Chair Shively.
And no problems.
Okay. Since this is the consent calendar, we still have to say with the public, is there any public comment on the consent calendar? Okay. Street names that are outrageous or something? Okay. Seeing none, for the public comment, we close that portion and say, is there a vote? And let's do this. Let's just vote en masse, A and B. And so we make a motion. We can make a motion. Okay.
No option.
Okay, yeah.
I move.
All second.
Okay, it's moved by Commissioner. It's not coming up. Okay. Okay, Commissioner Jimenez, I just want to say, and seconded by Vice Chair Shively. Thanks.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shively,
Yes.
Chair Hammond.
Yes.
With 4 yeses and 0 nos, this motion passes.
Come on. Okay. Just waiting for my screen to come up. That's all. Okay. Thank you very much, and we move on to item 6, public hearing. If you wonder why I read so much, it's just for the record. I'm not just reading because I like reading this stuff. Item 6A, tentative track map number 38308, PLN 21-05271. Proposal for tentative track map number 38308 to subdivide 1.82 vacant acres into one lot for condominium purposes to facilitate a 37-unit residential condominium development located on the east side of G Street at the terminus of 2nd Street in the urban village zone of the Paris Downtown Specific Plan, APN 310-070-001 and 310-070-002. The applicant Winston Liu of WW Land Design Consultants, Inc. Requested action, adopt resolution number 23-10, recommending that the City Council find the project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, review pursuant to sections 15332, infill development projects, and 15315, minor land divisions, and approving tentative track map numbered 38308, PLN 21-05271, based on the findings contained in the resolution and subject to the conditions of approval. And at this time, we have a presentation from our planning director.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman,
Chair
members of the
Hammond,
commission.
if I may.
Oh, you're right. Because this was a previous ask one, because we did it before, but I'll do it again. Is there an ex parte communication or site visits? Whatever you said the last time, you got to say this time, right?
None for me. This is Commissioner Lopez.
Okay.
Commissioner Jimenez, I've driven by the site.
None for me.
Yeah, I'm driven by this side. Thanks. Yeah. We just get on the record twice.
I understand.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Patricia Brenes, planning manager. As you stated, the project before you today is a tentative track map for condominium purposes. The project site consists of 1.82 acres, and it's located in the Paris Downtown Specific Plan. It's in the urban village land use, has an urban village land use designation, and it's surrounded by a single-family residence to the north, Country Hills Apartments to the east, Diamond Environmental Services to the west, and Paris Villas Apartments to the south. This is a view of the site from 2nd Street, view northeast from G Street, and this is a view southeast from G Street. This is elevations that show the previously approved project that came before you on March 15 for a 37-unit multifamily residential development. The exhibit before you is the tentative track map, and it's a proposed one-lot condominium consisting of 1.82 acres. The parcel meets all the development standards of the zone. And with that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt Resolution 2310, recommending that the City Council find the project to be categorically exempt from CEQA and approve tentative track map 21-05271 based on the findings contained in the resolution and subject to the conditions of approval. And that concludes staff's presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. And at this time, are there any question, discussion concerning this project? Commissioner Lopez?
My question is in regards to the parking. Looking at the analysis, they said that they're going to provide 2 parking spaces per unit plus 8 guest parking. Do you know if there's any other suggestions to include more guest parking for that project?
So that project was before you on March 15. The item before you today is solely the tentative track map for the creation of a one-lot condominium lot.
Okay. All right. So that plan is going to look exactly like the previous one, March 15?
The development on this site will incorporate the conditions or recommendations that were provided by the Planning Commission at the March 15 meeting.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Thank you.
Would you clarify? So this is the same thing that we saw, right, on March 15th?
Yes, yes.
That time was when we gave feedback on the development itself and the parking.
Correct.
This time, we're only recommending that it's exempt from CEQA and,
So this time we are, just for clarification, we're approving a map to allow the applicant to sell the units. So it's a condominium map.
okay. So that's what we were asking last time, and this was the next step. So they're going to
Yes.
sell them as individual condominiums?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Of course.
Vice Chair?
So with these new condominiums or anything, there's no pool or anything else like that going to be included?
Can you repeat the question, please?
There's no pool or anything else that's going to be included at these?
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no pool. This is the downtown urban village, so typically in the downtown, you're not going to have as many amenities because the concept is that you're going to be in the urban village. You have amenities close by, and so to get the density with our housing element, there's higher density. With a bigger project, we would ask for amenities, but these are 37 units. So, but there is like a playground for the kids and there's some barbecue areas. Just because it's in the downtown, that's why we typically don't have that little additional standard. Just because the amenities should be close by as we develop the downtown area.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Essentially, some of the things that you look in the project description for the staff report incorporated the things that were mentioned the last time. And essentially, we're talking, I think the only thing I want to explain is the air rights, because we get a lot of that in Los Angeles, but essentially air rights, and that's something I don't hear of too much out here. So briefly, I want to talk about what that means so everyone understands, even out there, what the air rights.
The airspace?
Airspace,
So it's, the owners will own the airspace, not the building itself. So that's why they're condominium units. And the common areas are commonly owned by whoever lives there. So they're going to have a homeowners association that needs to be created to be able to collectively maintain the common areas, parking areas, et cetera.
My only other issue, I think, and I know this is about airspace, but I saw there's an HOA. So an HOA is included with this?
Yes, there is a condition of approval
Right, okay.
requiring the formation of an HOA
Okay.
to be able to maintain the commonly shared areas.
Okay. You know about the HOAs.
Good
Okay.
questions.
I know. Because that's important, because with condominiums, you're going to, common areas, things like that. Okay. Any other questions? Because I'm basically, okay.
For the airspace, is this kind of like you see in New York and in Colombia, they have that where they have tall buildings and you can't really own the building. You own the air where your apartment is at. Is that kind of the same?
Yes.
Okay. Makes sense now. Thank you.
So you can charge them if they fly over your building. That's why I was used to joking. Like, they got a 70-story building, so they're going to charge them? Yeah, right. Yeah.
Everybody gets a piece.
Okay, well, if no more questions, we thank you so much.
Thank you.
And if the developer or the applicant would like to have anything to say at this time, you're free to come up to the podium. State your full name and spell your last name, sir. Okay.
Yeah, Winston Liu, civil engineer, represent the owner. They are tier 2. We are from Upland. Company name is W&W Land Design Consultants. This is a typical one-lot subdivision, the tentative tract map, so to allow us to subdivide in the future with the final tract map plus the condominium map. Just as you said, so it's airspace with all the common area because they have share wall. All the parking utility will be incorporated into the CCNR and the HOA, in the future. Yeah. Thank you so much for supporting this project. Yeah.
Okay. Are there any questions for the? Okay, you're getting off easy tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. At this time, is there any public comment on this project? And you're welcome to come up on this particular item. Is there any comments? I'm never going to ask about Zoom stuff now, unless I don't think we do that anymore. So, is there any public comment on this particular item? Seeing none, we close the public hearing and bring it to the commission. Do you have any discussion or any? Okay. Well, we're getting off easy tonight. Okay, seeing none. Oh, thank you. Real big. I can't miss that one. Oh, maybe I can miss it. Let me see. What would be easier?
It's slow.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay. I wonder if I should just go. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I'll just go what I'm looking at here. Requested action. Thank you. Requested adopt resolution. Thank you very much. Number 23-10, recommending that the City Council find the project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act review pursuant to sections 15332 infill development projects and 15315 minor land divisions, and approving tentative track map number 38308, PLN 21-05271, based on the findings contained in the resolution and subject to the conditions of approval. And there were no additional amendments to this one, so we're ready to vote. Oh, it's not showing. Okay. Okay. Okay, this Commissioner Lopez is moving.
Commissioner Jimenez, I second.
Second by Commissioner Menace. Thank you.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shively,
Yes.
Chair Hammond.
Yes.
With 4 yeses and 0 nos, this motion passes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Lupita. Okay. We move on to item 7B. Specific Plan Amendment 21-05125. A proposed specific plan amendment to update the Green Valley Specific Plan for consistency with the Paris Valley Airport Land Use Compatibility Plan, PVA-LUCP. Applicant Matthew Villalobos, Raintree Investment Corporation. I hope I got that right. Requested action to adopt resolution number 23-09, recommending that the City Council adopt the third addendum to the final Environmental Impact Report, final EIR, of the Green Valley Specific Plan, and approve Specific Plan Amendment 21-05125, based on the findings contained in the resolution and subject to the conditions of approval. Is there any ex parte communication, site visits, or any other thing?
No, I have none.
Okay.
I drove by the site.
Okay.
Oh, I've been by the site.
Yeah, definitely been by the site. Okay. And we have Nathan.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, Nathan Perez, Senior Planner, providing you this presentation. The next item we have is the Green Valley Specific Plan Amendment number 2. And the Green Valley Specific Plan is actually located north of Ethenac Road, east of Getz Road, south of Case Road, and also west of the I-215 freeway along the City of Menifee city limits. If you look at the aerial, most of the specific plan is left undeveloped, with the exception of the 2 track maps along Ethenac Road. One of them is KB Homes, which was completed construction maybe like a year and a half ago. and also Richmond American Homes, which is near completion of construction. I'd like to also mention there's the Paris Valley Airport located at the northwest area, just northwest of the specific plan area. So the Green Valley specific plan is within the Paris Valley Airport compatibility plan. And that plan was actually adopted in 2010, which is 20 years after the adoption of this Green Valley specific plan. And this specific plan amendment will actually align, I didn't know it was Knight Rider.
Okay.
That was in my intro, I promise. So.
Sure. it was. Yeah.
So continue on, this specific plan amendment will actually update the Green Valley specific plan to pretty much conform with the Paris Valley Airport compatibility plan. And I just want to point to the commission. Let's see, oh, here you go. Can you guys see my arrow?
Yes.
Okay. So if you notice, the airport runway runs along kind of like the west portion of the specific plan. Please notice area B1 and also C within the project area scope. Those areas, the reason why I'm highlighting them is because they're going to be rezoned from residential to open space. And I'll explain later in my presentation. So some background information about the specific plan. It was adopted in 1990, actually 32 years ago. Consisted of 4,210 dwelling units. Later on in 2017, Phase 1A was approved to pretty much update the commercial and residential design guidelines and the 2 tentative track maps, which one of them was completed in construction and the other one is almost near completion. Later on, 3 years after that, in 2020, during the height of COVID, Phase 1B was approved, which included 6 track maps. And during Phase 1B, a conditional approval, the applicant was required to submit a specific plan amendment, which is the one we're considering tonight, to include more units north of Watson Road, east of Murrieta Road. So let's look at the overall unit change from Phase 1A and Phase 1B. As mentioned earlier, the specific plan started out with 4,210 dwelling units. And the first phase, which is 1A, actually reduced the amount of units to 3,974 units. Later on, the specific plan amendment further reduced the amount of units, which is Phase 1B, from 3,974 units to 3,851 units, for a total cumulative loss or reduction of 359 units. And per Senate Bill 330, the units are required to be provided elsewhere within the Green Valley specific plan. This specific plan amendment proposes to update the land use map to pretty much put those 359 units into planning area 30. And I'll show the slide just to, So the ultimate goal is to pretty much bring back the specific plan up to 4,210 dwelling units. That's the whole goal. So the specific plan has several components. One of them is to update the land use map, which I'll talk a little bit more in detail, update the circulation element, and also include pedestrian and bicycle lanes and trails. So we adopted the 2013 Paris Trails Master Plan, the Paris ATP Plan, and those plans actually need to be included as part of this specific plan. Also, please note that no proposed changes to development standards, regulations, or design guidelines are part of this project. There's no physical construction at all as part of this specific plan amendment project. So the first component is the land use update. So it's pretty much to redesignate residential areas to open space to conform with the Paris Valley Airport compatibility plan. So essentially, there's a runway there. We need to remove residential dwelling units from that airport runway for safety reasons. And if you notice, that area was zoned, I think, R55, which is residential, and now it's being, or the proposal is to have it as open space. Another component is to include 359 dwelling units lost to planning area 30. So if you notice on the right-hand side, it's now multifamily. All those units are going to be put back into the specific plan. And then the last one is pretty much realign the zoning boundaries of planning area 13A and 13B with tentative parcel map 38410, which was the financing map we considered 2 weeks ago. So actually the proposal, the new zoning boundaries were pretty much aligned with that financing map we considered 2 weeks ago, and it was a conditional approval. So this specific plan amendment will clean that up. So here's the circulation update. This project includes amending the circulation plan of the Green Valley specific plan with a new street called Loop Road, which is depicted in the green line, consisting of a 66-foot right-of-way. The purpose of this road is to connect a viable segment of Green Valley Parkway and to provide 2 points of access to all planning areas located west of Murrieta Road within the Phase 2 area. Also, as mentioned earlier, the last component is the pedestrian bicycle lanes and trails update. Essentially, the whole goal is to provide connectivity throughout the whole specific plan with pedestrian access, also bike lanes and recreational trails to pretty much conform with the 2013 Paris Trails Master Plan and also Paris Active Transportation Plan. So this specific plan will actually align itself with those two plans. So before I conclude my presentation, staff received an email comment from Tia Misha, or Misha Riggins, and it's before you, concerning, basically she just mentioned that the Plan Commission should take consideration of the effects of this proposal on the environment and wildlife. So staff has reviewed her comments, which is before you, and the comment does not raise any new environmental impacts that have not already been addressed in the addendum under Project EIR. As the Project EIR concluded that all environmental impacts will be reduced to less than significant levels with mitigation measures. So there's actually less impacts because we're removing units, for example, from the Paris Valley Airport runway, and also there's no physical development as part of this project. So in conclusion, staff recommends that the Plan Commission staff recommends that the Plan Commission adopt Resolution 2309, recommending that the City Council adopt a third addendum to the final environmental impact report, and also approve specific plan amendment 2105125. So this concludes my presentation. That was a lot to say. I try to be very brief and informative. And also the applicant, Mr. Matt Villalobos, is here to answer any questions you might have for him.
Thanks so much, Nathan. Appreciate it. Just for the record, you already mentioned it. We did get this memo, letter, email. Tamisha Riggins, I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing it right, that came to the commissioners. So we just want to say that we did get the comments, and we are read the comments. So we just want to go on the record that it's here. Are there any, at this time, are there any questions or discussion for our illustrious planning?
Just wanted to clarify. So we're not going to do a rezone or anything. It's just going to be simply reallocating the residential away from the airport, correct?
Yeah, there's portions of the specific plan that are actually going to be rezoned to open space.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's going to be the only rezone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Only the parcels that are owned under, Mr. Matt Villalobos.
Got you.
So,
okay. All right. Understood. Thank you.
Commissioner Jimenez.
Thank you. I have two questions. First one, you said there was a law that says we had to keep those 350-something houses. So is there a law that states we had to go back to the 1990 number versus the 2020 numbers? I don't remember which numbers.
So essentially, that law is a Senate bill that was passed by, it's the Housing Crisis Act. Essentially, what it basically, it prohibits any type of downzoning, reduction of units that were already entitled. And since the specific plan is a long-range document, we have to comply with the SB 330 regulations, which is putting essentially back all the units that were lost from the last two projects from this specific plan.
So it has to go back to the original, not to the changes that were made?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. So,
Because, I mean, it would have been nice if it just reset to the previous one or the most recent and not have to add an additional 359 houses. My second one, I know that the school was over on that side where we're going to have multi-housing. Was the size of the school impacted at all by having to make any of these shifts?
actually, I don't know. I wasn't really originally, I don't know. Actually, the original case planner, Mr. Kenneth Fung.
Yes. So there was, the applicant here can further clarify, but there was communication with the school district. We consolidated the school site. The school site was in the runway area, and that had to be relocated. So as you can see in this exhibit here, it got relocated to on the east side of Marietta Road. But it was consolidated. It got the support of the school district to be on that east side because there's certain requirements that the school district has to meet in order for them to build a school site.
Right, no, I think with the last amendment, we had already approved for it to be moved. My question is, now that we're doing the multifamily, because even on the previous one, the school was there. My question is, was the size of the school impacted by, I guess, rezoning those into multi?
No, I think the school size stayed the same from the last amendment. The only difference now is just we had to put the density back on the east side of Marietta Road because a couple years ago we reduced the density, and as part of the condition to comply with SB 330, we said we would come back to upzone this side.
Okay, that was what my major concern was, school sizing, especially if we're adding family homes. That's going to increase the amount of scholars in the school. So I wanted to make sure, was the district contacted to make sure that this size school can still support the community? Because then you have to be shifting students out to other districts or other schools when they live in that zone.
They did reach out to the school district. There should be a letter. The applicant, Nick Johnson, can further clarify it.
Okay, I'll ask the applicant because as a teacher, that is a huge one when you have scholars that belong to your school being shifted across the city. Okay, thank you.
Vice Chair Scheibe.
So when we talk about reduction of some parcels, can we relocate those in any area in the entire specific plan or just within this parcel zone?
Well, since the last specific plan, it was actually conditioned to be placed east of Marietta Road, north of Watson. They could potentially shift some. However, we have to take in consideration, the flight path and also the zones. So it's very hard to actually upzone. Like for example, there's some portions of the specific plan that are already entitled with track maps, and there's some other parts that are also multifamily. So you can't really fit those units elsewhere. There's constraints everywhere. There's constraints with the airport. And that was actually the best place where we could place those units back into the specific plan.
So if it needed, can, in the future, if they try to redo the track maps in other areas of the specific plan, can they actually tack on additional units in this proposed 310 unit apartment area?
For them to add, because in order for them to stay within the addendum, which is say that there's no further impact, if they were to add additional density, the likelihood would be a supplemental EIR, which would be the seeker would be a more comprehensive process versus saying that there's no additional impact. But it could, in theory, be done.
Okay, so, but otherwise, if they do it in the future, in the next track map that they plan on doing, when they were to do it, they will kind of do the same scenario where they'll, do multifamily and relocate it in that aspect, reduce into some areas and make a multi-use with multifamily?
Yeah, there could be a potential, as long as, the owner wants to shift units around. They could they could pick one of those orange areas, which is R5000, single family. They could go multifamily in those areas. But however, those tract maps are already entitled, and they have a pretty good amount of people or merchant home builders that want to purchase.
Okay,
So-
thank you, Nathan.
Yeah, I appreciate the comments. I just, one clarification, one other, and you're probably more of an expert at it. In the staff report, you talked about, I know, can accommodate elementary and intermediate schools. I don't know what an intermediate school is. Never heard of that. In the Romaland School District, and I won't even start with the multiple school districts. That's a whole nother argument. Romaland, okay? Originally, and they weren't here, but originally they had a high school plan, a fire station plan. Some of those things may still be planned, but elementary. Obviously, because of the runway, they had to move that away. So that open space is created. The density thing is because of the state, which I'm sure you're going to talk about later. You're not going to have any choices. I'm just telling you now. The state is going to mandate, so just accept it. One of the things, too, this is a technical question. Are they able to talk about density transfers or density bonuses? Because if you're moving it from one and moving it to other, are they going to get credit for that, or is that something that's not mentioned here, but it's been done in the past? In other words, the former Caderas project is one of those where you can't exceed the total amount, but you can move projects, move things, and make density as long as it doesn't exceed and have to go back and do an EIR. So that's something that this is what it's actually calling, and we're not seeing it mentioned here, but is it really a density bonus or density transfer?
It's not like a density transfer per se. We're just kind of redesignating right now. Hey, this is where this is going to be multiple family. So whenever they come and develop on the east side of Marietta Road, let's say it's up to, I think it's 22 units per acre. That's their cap. Mm-hmm. They can build at 22 units per acre. If they want to shift the density later on, they have to come back to us for approval if they wanted to go above and beyond that.
Okay, but then we're moving from single-family residential to multifamily, so we're taking those 59 residential, right, and moving it to the multifamily. That's going to add to whatever the multifamily track is. Am I off there or something?
So if you compare the exhibit on the screen right now,
Yeah.
you see where on the east side of Marietta Road
Right.
and north of Watson, that area which was previously single family got changed into a multiple family. And the reason for that is because we had to because in the past we said we can reduce the density, and we said that we will make it up, and this is the process now to make up for the lost density so we can get back to the 4,200 total units that's required to comply with SB 330 laws, which says you can't lose density.
Right. What was the plan? What was the total amount of units that would, if we're moving it to multifamily, what would be the total number of units of multifamily, or we don't have a number?
It should be identified in the plan. It's a little hard to read here. I need to find the full-size copy. But the developer might know it offhand. Otherwise, I need to kind of download the doc. I can find it on our website.
I just can't see it here. I have good eyesight. Okay. That was it for me. We'll let you know off easy, Nathan, too. But I can see the changes, and I pretty much understand they're doing. And then state imposed. So that's another discussion. Any other discussion or questions concerning? Okay. Thank you, sir. And I'm sure the developer would like, or applicant would like to come forward. And if you'd like a presentation. And if you could just state your full, like we don't know it, but state your full name and spell your last name for us, for the record.
Good evening, Commissioner, Chairman, and Commissioners. Nick Johnson, Johnsson, with Johnson Consulting. And also with me this evening is Matt Villalobos, the owner and developer, as well as Sabrina Teller, our legal counsel, CEQA legal counsel on the project. So happy to be here with you this evening. I'm going to walk through a few slides that will, I think, help to and answer some of your questions that you've already put forward, but I've been taking notes, and I think we can discuss a little bit further some of the things that you've already raised here this evening. And I'll apologize for my voice right now. I'm a little bit of a cold, but we're doing great. So, the best part about Green Valley is that it is fully underway, and it's a community that's growing and being developed as we speak. And the biggest thing about this community, as we've talked about in the past, is that this is really about what Paris is trying to achieve for the future. This is live, work, play, Paris lifestyle. This is everything that you've been talking about as a planning commission, trying to bring to the city, encapsulated in a development. Convenience, low-stress living, less driving, less pollution, more walking, biking, healthier lifestyles, closer to the neighbors, friends, family, and Metrolink. This is the poster child for the right type of development for the city. What we want to see in Paris is play. We want the kids out there having a great time. We want to see adults out there having a great time. We have major parks as part of this development. The walking trails, the paths, and everything that go with it. Soccer, baseball. All of the active lifestyle, even the passive lifestyle, great parks where you can sit and take in nature and enjoy all that is the beauty of Paris. As we take shape, the KB Homes Stone Creek already sold out. So this is from the Phase 1A, already sold out. Richmond American Homes Seasons 1.0 already sold out. So communities completely built out and completed. Richmond American has started their 2.0 development immediately north of their previous tract. They just started sales at the end of last week, and already have 10 new sales to date. So already off. When you drove out there, you saw construction is fully underway. Tri-Point Homes is working towards getting their grading permit to also get started. So lots of great activity. And this is even as we've all read the news, it's a tough time for the housing market right at the moment, given where rates have come up over the last 9 months or so. And so this is a real testament to the resilience of the community to see these housing starts get going here, even in the midst of that tough marketplace. So let's talk for a few minutes about specifically this project. This is a little bit in the weeds. This is a lot of administrative work, a lot of cleanup of things that we've been working with you for a number of years together. But what we bring forward to you today is really kind of completing the vision of the various parts and pieces that we've been working on closely with staff throughout the entire city, working with external stakeholders as well as part of this, and ensuring that the vision that we've worked with you to create along the way is coming forward through the parts and pieces, the hard, diligent work that it takes to actually make a specific plan and a master plan community come together. There's really kind of three major parts to what we're asking of you tonight. There's the land use plan update, the circulation element update, and the bike and trails update as part of this. On the land use plan update, it's pretty straightforward, and you've already heard about it from Nathan with a great presentation from him. We're retaining the density, the original density from the 1990 specific plan, 4,210 residential units. It's required as part of SB 330 to be state compliant. It's also part of the city's housing element as well. So it's one of the key things that is helping the city to continue to meet your requirements under RHNA and that housing element. With regard to the circulation element, adding the loop road, that wonderfully named loop road, one of the challenges that we have is Matt and his company is the largest landholder within Green Valley, but they're not the only landholder within Green Valley. But they are the landholder who is actively developing. And they have developed all of the infrastructure and the facilities as part of this. They've invested heavily in the community, but they're somewhat doing it on their own, and they don't own all of the property. And so a big part of what we're trying to do here is meet all of these administrative and legal requirements within the context of one developer. And so some of the gyrations that you see here are us working to try and meet all of these opportunities and constraints within the context of one landowner's land holdings within this very large master plan community. And then finally, with regard to the bikes and trails, this is where we've really been working closely with city staff to work through, as Nathan mentioned, we've had many planning requirements layered on top of the original 1990 specific plan, and I'll go through some of those specifically, but one of the key ones is the bike and trails plan for the city, the bike and trails master plan. And so what we're trying to do is implement, again, within land that Matt and his company own, to take care of those requirements to provide connectivity for those trails and bike paths throughout the community, and particularly along and beside the riverfront area, the San Jacinto riverfront area. So a little bit of history, and bear with me, I'll go through this quickly, but I think it's good context that we understand where we came from and what brings us here today. So the original 1990 approved plan had its internal road system and a series of planning areas defined, but no specific development was defined within that area. And so a little bit of what we talked about earlier of those, quote unquote, loss of units is as you go from a just basic outline of a planning area to adding the track map details of roads and parks and all the other amenities that come with it is where that loss of units can happen. In this situation, we've got a good plan of attack to be able to retain those units, and so we'll talk about that specifically. At the time, we didn't have a multiple species habitat conservation plan overlaid over this property. So along the San Jacinto River, the Western Riverside County RCA developed a multiple species and habitat plan that overlaid over a good portion of the property. And so that puts further restrictions in terms of what can be done or can't be done on that property. And so that's one of those big constraints that we're working around. No airport land use compatibility plan. So the ALUC didn't have a land use compatibility plan for the airport at the time when the project was originally put in place. But that was adopted in worked on in 2010, adopted in 2011, and so it's an additional set of requirements that we're working very closely and have worked closely with the ALUC to get approval. We went from multiple school sites down to, again, that overlay of the ALUC, the safety zones associated with the airport that then required us to find a school site that can accommodate the needs and can meet all of the state requirements for a school site within the vicinity of an airport. And we worked very closely with the Roma Land School District through this and actually got that site approved here this last summer. So even since we met last when we did the Phase 1B entitlements, we have been working with them diligently since then and got that site approved through the state process. We didn't have a flood control plan. The Line A channel that's out there today, all of the evacuation channels that have been created as flood control measures so that this site can actually be developed is part of it. And you see it out there working today. If you drove by it as I did today, you see those channels doing exactly what they were designed to do, which is to ensure flood protection for that area. No Trails Master Plan, the Paris Metrolink station didn't exist. So all of these things that didn't exist in 1990 are things that we as planners are working within today. And so as we look at those opportunities and constraints, you can start to see that each of these provide both opportunities, but also a great number of constraints. And so working through those constraints, again, with city staff, with our internal partners and external partners, we've been able to come up with what we think is a really well thought out land use plan within the area. Again, all those things that I just went through with you are incorporated into the planning that we're doing here within this plan now. A little bit about the phasing of the project. So in yellow, these two areas down here, these were the two original track maps. We actually have a residents of the community here with us tonight, who are living in the community there, participating. One of the big things about those two first track maps was that Matt and his company invested heavily in this property to develop the infrastructure that makes this possible. So all of the street network, all of the flood control measures, the storm drains, all those non-sexy infrastructure kinds of things that have to be in place to make a master plan community. Matt and Raintree Green Valley Recovery Acquisition went through and invested heavily in the community to create this backbone infrastructure that's part of the plan. Then we were with you back in 2020, 2021 with Phase 1B, which were the 6 track maps that were previously approved. 2 of them, as I just mentioned at the outset, are underway, and the others will be coming along behind them. So those are already part of the process. And then what we're here to talk about tonight is specifically what's shown here in blue, Phase 2, which is most of the area north of Watson Road, and taking in those areas, but also bringing commercial forward. So one of the great successes that we're seeing right now is that we've got a commercial developer coming to the table in planning area 13A, and the multifamily directly adjacent to it, 13B. In fact, at our last meeting, when we did the finance map associated with that, that approval helped to move that development forward. So again, what this does tonight is includes all of the CEQA environmental process as part of that development, does all the traffic analysis and everything that goes with it. So kind of the care and feeding, the heavy lifting of what it takes to actually do the nuts and bolts planning of getting a project moving forward. So I've kind of gone through Phase 1 and 1A and B, but Phase 1A is built out. A lot of investment, as I mentioned before. Phase 1B not only put in place the track maps, but you'll recall we adopted, with your help, extensive design standards that are now that's actually being implemented. So those design standards, all of the baseline of what it is we're developing and what it looks like and how it feels, you approved previously. And so what we're doing tonight is really about what comes beyond that, but those design standards are in place. The approach to how we actually develop is there. We also had the regional park, which is fully in design right now. We're almost done with the design and actually ready to getting ready to put it out to bid, so we can get that park underway. And then the school site selection, as I mentioned, and Commissioner Jimenez, as you pointed out, when we met with you for that entitlement, we included the school site. We've done that additional work with the state since that point and with the school district. So what is Phase 2 about? Again, it's the continuation of this master plan community. 4,210 homes on 1,269 acres, so almost 2 square miles of that makes up the entire specific plan area. Just to kind of give you a sense of the scale of what it is we're talking about from a community standpoint. The neighborhood commercial, as I mentioned, to complement what's already going at Paris Crossing with more of the regional type of commercial that's out closer to the freeway. This is that neighborhood type of commercial that we want to see integrated into the community. People can, again, walk, bike, participate in the community without getting in the car to drive around. As I mentioned, the school site, The other thing that we did is we worked closely with the ALUC staff to get this plan approved. We've been working progressively with the ALUC all the way through this process. It was really important to work closely with them because there's a lot of open land requirements that they wanted to see as part of this. So both protecting from the aircraft noise, but also the safety zones that go with the Airport Land Use Compatibility Plan, or ALUCP. And so it was really important that we worked within that, that we made the project compatible with the Habitat Conservation Plan. So all of these components, we were working together to make them come to be a whole plan within something we can develop. The circulation plan is something that we've been working on for a while, and it's, again, this is within the context of what Green Valley or Raintree, Matt's company, can actually develop. And so we're really focusing on those portions of land. And so we're including streets and roads that handle the traffic levels. In fact, all had to be, as part of the environmental analysis, we had to do complete traffic studies as part of that, and make sure that the roads were sized properly to accommodate that level of activity and development and traffic. And within that, Watson Road, which is where the Watson Ditch is today, is really more of just a dirt farm road right now, but eventually that will become one of the roads that's part of the development. Murrieta Road North, Murrieta Road South from Green Valley Parkway is already in place, and so it's already part of the infrastructure that's already been developed. Case Road, the intersection at Case Road, also working with what that eventually will look like to connect up trails and bike paths. And then finally, the Green Valley Loop Road is that section that that pulls it all together in this northern portion of Phase 2. So Nathan showed you this earlier. One of the great things about the circulation side of this is that it also involves this whole network of parks, but it takes those parks and it kind of strings them together as destinations on the bike and trail plan. And so we take, really starting at the Metrolink station to the northeast, and tie it all together with bikes and walking paths through the Paseo area, which is essentially this long linear park that runs from north to south along PA 30. So it becomes this kind of this long extended park that allows for the connectivity of the bike lanes and the path, but also seating areas, trees, just great amenities for the community, and really will become a part of what that PA 30 ultimately looks like. And one of the things that I want to just point out with Planning Area 30, you've already asked Commissioner Jimenez about the density of that area. One of the things, again, you lose this sense of scale of how large PA 30 is. Our intent all along has been maximizing single-family development. That's really the focus. In fact, if you go back to what the design standards are, we really focus on trying to do as much single-family development as we can within this layout. But we also want a diversity of the types of development because this is a very large community. It has a lot of different types. And so to just give you some examples of, up in the northern portion of PA 30, by consolidating this into one large planning area, what it allows us to do is, so as we get closer to the Metrolink station, closer to Case Road, do maybe some apartment type product up in that area, and then progressively work through the townhome types of products, the single-family court product, that motor court product that we talked about in the design standards before, all the way down to some single-family development as we get closer down to the school site. And so, so there's this variability, and that's just one way in which it can be laid out. The biggest thing that we're going to do is we're going to work with the development community to make sure that it's a product that's actually saleable within that area. Make it beautiful, make it fit with the community, and make it come together and with all of the things that are around it. And so that PA 30 gives us some flexibility to be able to do that while meeting the state and city requirements for being compliant with SB 330. And again, all of this tied together, we have some major streets within this area, and I highlight here protected crossings. For me personally, if I'm going to put my kids out on the street walking and with their bikes, I want to make sure that they have a protected place when they're crossing streets. And so really focusing, one of the things we worked very closely with city engineering was just, if you look down in the minutia of the plan, you'll see the cross sections that show those crossings of those streets, and making sure that we've got these protected intersections for those crossings as part of this, because we want people out of their cars as much as possible, using their bikes, walking, being a part of the community, and being able to do so safely. So that's part of, baked into the plan, if you will. So in summary, this is really the culmination of an 8-year planning process. It's been one that we have worked not just with planning in the city, not just with engineering, but just about every single department, with yourselves as planning commissioners, and with the city council along the way. This is, from an internal standpoint, this has touched just about everybody within the city proper, staff, elected and appointed leaders within the city, because that's the type of community it is. It is part of this community, and so it needs to be planned and designed and built from the ground up from the people who are here vested in what's happening. But we also worked with our external stakeholders, working with Riverside County Flood Control, working with the Airport Land Use Commission, working with the airport owners themselves to ensure that their interests are protected in all of this, working with the RCA, working with Romaland School District, working with the City of Menifee, working with adjacent landowners, working with Eastern Municipal Water District, and with the home builders and commercial developers. This is as comprehensive of a process as you can possibly imagine, because it has to be, right? At the end of the day, this has to be a reflection of the city of Perris. This is live, work, play Perris, because it really is the embodiment of what we want to see the city to become and look like. And so it's a real pleasure to be a part of this. It's a real pleasure to be here with you tonight, and happy to answer any questions that you have further. And then, as I mentioned before, Matt Villalobos with Raintree Investment, and Sabrina Teller here as well tonight. So any of your questions, happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. And I know we're going to have questions, because I will appreciate the presentation. And anyone would like to start? Okay.
My main concern, again, it's beautiful, but I was doing the math. We started off in 1990 with 24 acres dedicated for schools. There was 3 schools. When we came back in 2020, we lost 1 school site, but we kept the acreage because there was 2 schools. There was a school on the bottom, and that kept us at 23.9 acres. The new recommendation has 15 acres. Okay, as a school teacher, I know even our school where I work at is probably the most beautiful in our district, and they're starting to attempt to try to put in portables. So I'm trying to avoid all that, because with the 24 acres, I think it was set up, and now we're adding homes and taking away, what is that, 9 acres for a school development. So we're talking about living in the city, working in the city. I mean, districts don't have money for busing. Parents don't want to bus their kids across the city to a different school. So that's my most major concern as a homeowner, as a parent, as a teacher.
So let me address it directly. So those original school sites that were sprinkled through, 7 different potential school sites were sprinkled throughout the entire area long before the Airport Land Use Compatibility Plan was put in place. The State Division of Aeronautics and the state architect look very closely at any school development within 2,000 feet of a runway. And so what we had to do is we had to go back through that entire process and ensure that, number one, any school site in this area or with the airport still operating there could be there in the first place. What we did is we worked closely with Roma Land School District, who is not just looking at Green Valley as part of their development, but they're actually looking at their other school sites immediately in the area. And so I'm not sure if it probably hasn't come before you, but immediately adjacent to us to the southwest, so south of Ethonac and west of Getz, the school actually owns another site over in that location, and that is actually that is their prioritized school site before this school site even in terms of the next to be developed. And so in our work with them, they're actually programming around the exact number of kids that are actually going to be within the school district, working, how that school size would be handled within the available area. So they're always programming what is their next school site, what grade levels will it handle? Will it be K through 5? Will it be K through 8? Will it be K through 12? What they're programming right now for these two school sites, I believe they've got K through 12 for the school site to the west of us. This new school site right now is either looking at K through 5 or K through 6. And so they're working on their programming as students come into the district. So they're working through that, and also within their financial constraints as well. As you're aware as a teacher, the challenges of actually passing bond measures with to actually fund the actual school site development is challenging, and so they're working within those challenges. But we're working closely with them to ensure, number one, like I said, that we got that school site approved. And from a school site standpoint, the other thing I'll point out to you, and this was something that we worked with them, you'll note that there's open space and park space around this school site. And so that's, again, by design. What we're trying to do is, while the focused school facilities will be on the property that is the school site itself, but by programming land use around it that can be helpful to open space associated with kids being able to use that space as part of the school and those sorts of things are those challenge areas where we have, beyond the classroom, what we're doing outside of the building itself or buildings themselves is what we're looking to here. So you really have to kind of look to that entire landmass around the school site as what is really making up what's going to be there for students and for faculty.
Well, it really won't, because you can't leave school grounds without a permission slip. My elementary school had a park right next to it, and it served us no purpose because we couldn't go unless we had certificated teachers. We had to have a certain amount of chaperones. There's like a lot of requirements. You can't just say there's a park next door, go next door and do your laps there. There's so many nuances. That is my biggest hang-up, was losing the school, because even though California has a declining numbers, there's also declining classroom ratio of student to teacher. Mm-hmm. So there's a need for more classrooms, and I know the districts are projecting, I know our district projects at least 5 years in advance. So that is my concern, where we started off with 24 acres of school, we're at 15 now.
So to be clear again, you actually didn't start with 24 acres. You had 24 acres programmed, but that doesn't mean that that acreage could in fact become a school site. And what we have done is we've actually put what can become a school site on the table. That's what you're seeing actually being approved, is that which can actually be approved and has been approved by, again, the State Division of Aeronautics and the state architect. So while it's kind of like the rest of the property, just because we have a planning area that shows a certain number of acres there, by the time you design that area and you apply the design standards and the streets and the infrastructure and everything else that goes with it, ultimately you end up with something less than that gross acreage of space that you're working with. And so similarly, that is actually a large school site. It's not to minimize your point or your question, it's just to say that is an approved site that can be built.
So what we approved in 2020, the extra 8.9 that were a little bit to the north, I wasn't there too, because I was looking under.
There weren't. There was only one site. This has been the only site, that we have been working with, even including those earlier entitlements, so the Phase 1B entitlements.
Because we have a proposed planning area amendment table in our documents, and under planning areas 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, and 34, it says PA 32 was a zoning with school acreage 8.9. And then right next to that was a park for 4.9. And then area 32A was also zoning school acreage 15.
Are you looking at the marked up document, or are you looking at the final document?
I'm looking at the proposed planning area amendment table. That is, it's Exhibit C in our documents.
So that was not intended to be a.
Yeah, just the,
What?
state your name for the.
Oh, this is Matt Villalobos. I'm the owner of the property. Good evening, commissioners. So the area to the north, when we looked at CEQA, we didn't touch anything in Phase 2. So to Nick's point, that was a potential school site, which is with staff's request and condition of us, we had to take that whole PA 30 area to make this zoning requirement.
Okay.
So that was never a school. For a little background, we worked with the school with the first two tracks. We were trying to get the school district to bring a school site. This is the only physical constraint where it could go based on state law. So that is the largest site and in the only location. As part of the 4.0 process, you identify 16 school sites. The state comes out and you drive to each of them. Ethonac Road has a high pressure line of a gas, so you can't have anything within 2,000 feet of that. As Nick mentioned, there was the airport requirement. The state does not like curvilinear roads. Planners love them, so most of our roads can't have a school. And then there's the rail line that cannot have a school within a certain number of feet. There's also the EMWD's plant that there has to be a separation for. So we did try to convince the school district and the state for where that park is to have it be a school site, and they declined. This was the school site they wanted. They actually wanted only 10 acres, and we were able to get them to this 15-acre site.
Okay. Well, even on the 2021 approved land use plan,
there was the school site to the north, but that was just because we untouched. We did not touch Phase 2 because staff knew that this amendment was coming forward.
Yeah, Matt, just want to confirm that the school district felt that this is all the land they needed. Wanted just to confirm that information.
They wanted less land.
there's land, even with the multifamily and the extra 360.
Well, as we mentioned, it's not multifamily. Working with staff, we didn't want to create a new zone
Okay.
of this property. It's mostly going to be single-family detached.
Okay.
Just up to the north along the railroad, there'll be apartments. We're only a single-family developer.
Okay.
Apartments to us are worth zero. So we give apartment land away.
Okay. But there's still, we have to add on an additional 359.
Correct. Yep. So when you look at the density of 1,200 units over the 80 acres, it's a relatively low density, especially if you do 3-story apartments towards the front of near the airport or the railroad. Then you kind of do 2-story townhomes. Then you'll, as Nick mentioned, do the 2-story detached cluster with backyards, which,
And then the single family.
yep, and then single family right by the school.
Okay. Okay, that's it for now.
Thank you.
Go for it.
So, so Nick, this part doesn't have any issue with you and your development. My frustration is with the school district and developing that easterly, the one on Ethonac Road, is it? The community has been waiting for 12, 13, 14 years for that site to be developed. I'm sure hope that this site doesn't have to wait that long as well to get developed, because I've been driving 8 miles a day to drop my daughter off one direction with no schooling, no busing, nothing like that. So it's definitely a frustration, and just to be able to drive 14 miles to drink, I have no problem taking my daughter to school, my son to school, but it's just frustrating that you can't get no new school when they did have a site there for so many years. So hopefully they don't wait this long, and maybe you can, they got 4,000 homes plus that they're trying to, develop here. Hopefully they don't wait that long. So I appreciate that. And then can you also go into further detail some of your protected road crossings? What you actually are planning in the community?
Certainly. So there's a couple of key places where protected crossings really need to be a part of it. The way in which the river trail will today terminate at the Metrolink station and then eventually continue on and across Case Road is something that city staff has been working on directly and coming up with plans, but they're working on it, and maybe Kenneth, Patricia, or John with engineering might be able to speak to this further. They're looking at protected crossings there. And then, as I mentioned before, using the Paseo, as a major link coming down past the school site, so that again we're connecting in the school site from a trail network standpoint. But it's really this intersection within the development at what will become Watson Road and Marietta Road is really critically important that be a protected crossing. And then further, what we've tried to do is actually use the service roads associated with the evacuation channels as part of the trail network, so that we can tie over to Getz Road and crossing over near Getz Park. So there's already, I think, also a protected crossing that the city has been working closely on the Getz Road widening project as part of that, and the bridge project. So ensuring that is a protected crossing. We already at Getz and Fieldstone, we already have protected crossings there. So that's a fully signalized intersection today. But like I said, there will be these other additional points along the way as part of the development. So ensuring that we have that connectivity to be able to bike and walk all the way through the development.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Appreciate the presentation. And you can leave that map on. There's some constraints and other things that are involved here, and I'm just going to bring them up. I'm not going to say one way or the other how I feel, because I'll do that later on discussion. But number one, as those residents know, there anyone who lives at Winco, like I do, is the EMWD plant is an atrocious smell. And I mentioned this years ago. There's no way you're going to be able to do something with that. You've got to deal with that. So if you put housing over there, it's going to come. So those of us who live here understand that, because you're going to be standing out there and you're going to get it. Okay. So I'm a Home Depot junkie, and you smell it. So if you're putting housing over there, you've got an issue right now. I'm just telling you up front, you're going to have that. I like the other thing is Case Road, and I'll let the engineer talk about future Case Road expansion. But that's one of those intersections where I think the Metrolink, and I precede all of these because I was the first one on Metrolink in Riverside. Okay, so I know about Metrolink, but there's a crossing there. So, and the idea is to live, work, and also have transportation, but you got to cross that street some kind of way. So if you want people to cross the street there, they're going to have to deal with that issue. Watson Road also would have to be developed, because it is not. It's a dirt road going from the EWD plant. I don't know what they're going to do in front of that. But that's another issue. So Watson Road is one of those issues. If you're going to put a school on Watson Road, that's consideration coming from Case Road and going that direction past the Home Depot. That way, that's going to be one of those routes you're going to have to deal with. It's not just going to be coming up Murrieta or down Murrieta. That's another one. Another issue is you say this is a multifamily unit. It should be all multifamily. And there's no entrance or anything in terms of egress. I'm sure that'll come up later. Egress ingress, how do you get into it? Okay, you can't overlook these things, but we as commissioners for several years, we look at these things. So the idea of schools, I was here originally, before any of them were here, when it originally came to us, Green Valley, and the idea was high schools, a fire station, all these other things planned, but 1990, I wasn't on this. But it's developed over the time, takes a long time. It's taken a long time to develop because you've had ups and downs, the economy, all those issues. And it's good to see that something's coming forward. But this is the expert on the schools. He lives near the area. I just drive in that area. But the idea is that the schools, Romaland, I didn't know this was all Romaland, just school district, but I think these are just some considerations. We're not saying bad. We're just saying these are considerations that if you're going to have a school on Watson Road there that's off the beaten path, then it's one of those things you're going to have some those things concerns there. Obviously, we see to the north. I like this picture here because in the very Paris Valley Airport area, you couldn't put a school there, so you had to move that. You really can't. Industrial probably could put industrial only because that's the only thing. Like up north, you can't do anything else. It has to be low density. So anything else on there other than open space is kind of irrelevant. 2,200, you're not going to have any houses there. So those things have to be taken into consideration. So I'm just bringing up points you already know. It's just the idea that we're just bringing up some of these issues that come up because this is a planning commission. So we tend to bring up. But the idea of density moving in there because the state kind of mandates it also. So we don't want to just make it look like we're just saying put density there. We're going to be mandated. So it's not an option. So apartments, low income, whatever, we're going to have to do it. So it's where do you put it? How do we look? We can talk about designs. We can talk about all structure, but it has to be there. It's just where you place it, where you place, how does that fit into the overall picture? And I think you've designed multifamily, some condominium townhomes, which we lack in the city a lot of. But density is just becoming a reality. So we just have to figure out ways to work in that, into the systems, into the designs. Some of us like it, some of us don't. It's just one of those things we just have to deal with. So I think those are some of the issues, and she brought up major issues with the school because she works with schools. It makes sense. And I don't know the school people. My kids, and having to drive that distance, what school is way over on Homeland?
Case and, yeah.
Yeah, to drive long distances, it would be some benefit to have schools in that area. There was a lot more in the original. It had high schools and everything. I said, whoa, I got to do that. But then the airport thing, all these things that we're talking about now weren't there back then. Yeah, when I got on, I don't think half this stuff was even in 2002. We weren't even talking about this stuff. Trails, nothing. Just build the houses. You got to have combinations, and that makes it a master plan community where you have multifamily, condominium, townhome. That's what's called master plan. Not even talking about a community center. I'm not even going to mention that possibility. But it's one of those things where that makes it a master plan. You want it all encompassing, but you want businesses, you want all that in that area so people don't have to necessarily get long distances for everything to drive in the car. Environmental. Right? So if we can keep that and this concept going through other parts of the city, that's fine. We're still going to have to do some trips, but at least it don't have to be maybe mom and pop things, or those kind of things that you can develop that are closer in, that bring the community closer. So I think overall, I think you just about heard the unless you have some more things to say, the ideas. We're not criticizing. We're just saying these are some things that we have to deal with, and we're thinking in the general picture, not so much the specifics. And I do appreciate it, and I appreciate the level of detail. And I know that river, that thing that got put in, was a lot of money, but that kind of saved this project because along Ethan Act, if you didn't have that, we're not even discussing it today. So. But anyway, any more questions? Any more? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time tonight. We really appreciate it.
Okay. At this time, do we have any comments from the public on this item, agenda item? Okay. As they say, speak now, forever hold your peace. Right? Okay. We're here. Do me a favor and state your full name and spell your last name. We don't need the address. We don't know that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, my name is William Doucette, Doucette.
Thank you, sir. Mm-hmm.
I'm new in the community. I just bought a home over here, a single-family home. When we get to all of the homes and all of the 42 apartments and when you talk about the density of this area, it's going to be hard to move around. Because if you got that many apartment units in here, we're not talking about 1 or 2 people, we're talking about families. So now we have got crowded to the point where I thought I was buying a home that was going to be kind of like quiet. But what we developing is going to be just like another big city. It's good to look ahead of your property, that your property value will go up or whatever. But what I can't understand is how many apartment buildings you would build here. And commercial, what kind of commercial will we have to help that? We own schools, so if you bring that many apartment units, you got a lot of kids coming in. And your private home or whatever, now you done got indented to what all of these other apartment buildings and commercial buildings. And just not too long ago, you know, we had a vote over there on Green Valley about parking 18-wheelers. And we're like, no, we don't want all them 18-wheelers on our street. How would we get out our units? They wanted to park the 18-wheelers on that street, Marietta Road. And it's kind of like just we move out here for a family-oriented city, but with some open spaces. But now we're going to just crowd all of that open space to. I moved away from L.A. I lived in L.A. 50 years, so I understand about crowdedness. You know, you can't hardly move. I lived in L.A. by the airport on La Tijera, where it took you for a block and a half. It took you 40 minutes to get to the light in 2 blocks. That's how much traffic that the city have just, so that was my worry when I seen how many homes it was, you know, family homes and whatever. And then I hear some of our members with our block clubs talking about, well, you know, we got to drive so far with our kids to school and whatever. We don't have a bus where a kid could come and at a bus stop or something. Well, we don't have to drive like that. And I'm in a place where we got 163 homes, single family homes.
Okay, the time is, but I appreciate it. Thank you very much, sir. Any other public comment? Okay, appreciate it.
Really quick.
Just state your full name and spell your last name for us.
Carl Williams. Williams, Williams. Just to kind of piggyback off Mr. Doucette, we are in the same community. Understand completely exactly where he's coming from. I think the one consideration that we had both just kind of had an area, I won't say it's an issue, but although they did explain it, is when you're moving those additional units, that 359 units, into that multifamily segment that is Marietta Road, how is that overall density of individuals in that particular space going to affect not only the traffic, people being able to get in and out of those areas, and then what is that going to do with the rest of the community as far as being able to move around the community from a driving standpoint, not specifically just from bike riding or walking or things of that. I think that particular portion is great, but how is that going to affect, once again, as you mentioned, you're a teacher. If you have that additional density, how is that going to affect the kids that are going to be going into that school? And is that school going to be sufficiently set up to accommodate those kids, either from a K through 8 or K through 12 perspective? And then what are we going to do with the other kids that can't go to that one particular school? So ultimately, I think that is just one of the areas of concern, but I do love the community. I love to see the growth that it is going to have. I think the only other question that I would have is that as they're moving those those single-family homes out of that area and into that open space, then is that open space then going to be available to individuals within the community as a part of that park system, or is it just going to be available? So those are my questions.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Anyone else? Okay. We close the public comment, and I'm sure the developer will give the developer an opportunity to make a reply. So we need to open up the public hearing again, or just public comment?
No, we're still in the public hearing,
Public
so
hearing.
just allow them.
Yeah, if you would like. Mhm.
Thank you both for coming out and speaking tonight, all of you for coming out and speaking tonight. I think the best part about having folks come out is, there are residents of Green Valley coming to speak and be a part of this planning process. And so I take that as the first success of all. And I think we share the types of concerns that they have. Staff shares the concerns. You voiced the concerns. And what we've worked to do is to reflect back to you the types of things, the concerns that you're bringing forward, the community are bringing forward. We're listening carefully. Staff is listening carefully as we've worked with staff to come up with design standards for the streets, for the street sections, the roads, the type of traffic analysis that we did as part of this planning to ensure that the traffic could be accommodated within this area. To make sure that the intersections are properly signaled and timed, that all of the intersections within the area are properly funded so that we have that kind of traffic control in the area is part of the process that we go through this. Sometimes no one sees that deep process that we all go through working closely with staff to put all these parts and pieces together. All these things that you're telling us is wonderful guidance that informs us as planners and designers, as engineers, to really begin to think through how do we solve those problems. And what you see before you right now is the culmination of all of that input and all of that kind of planning and thoughtfulness to come to something that works well for the community going forward. Commissioner Hammond, as you have shown your leadership throughout all of the many years that you've worked on this commission, we're listening. And all the things that you tell us along the way are the things when we're sitting in the planning room with your staff, those are the kinds of things that we roll up our sleeves and work on. And so you see those things reflected here tonight. So again, we appreciate residents coming out and being a part of this process. We love being a part of this process. We love being here and having the opportunity to develop within the community and make a great community for the city of Paris. And so thank you again for the opportunity. We appreciate that. And we look forward to continuing to develop as we go. Thank you.
I just want to add some clarification. So based on the calculation, they can do the zoning, just for context, because the scale is so large. The MFR zone, multiple family, is 14.5 units to the acre. Just for context. And then the other thing is they're not required to build 14.55. They can go within a range. They can do 10 units per acre. So just want to make the commissioner aware that it's not something that you probably see like across the street from here. So I just want to put context to what we're looking at.
That's it? Okay. Anything from staff? Okay. At this time, we close the public hearing, unless there's something else, and bring it to the commission for discussion, and now you can go for it.
I think that obviously there's still a lot of details and concerns that need to be ironed out with this particular project, but considering what's in front of us right now, for the request of the open space, I think it makes sense to make it compatible for the Paris Valley Airport, just for the safety of what development projects are planned for ahead. So as of right now, I think this is okay.
I agree with Commissioner Lopez. I really like the open spaces. I really like that was a focus. I guess one of my still questions and something that is still lingering is school capacity. And was this the only place that we could have placed a school? So I don't know if that's something that can't be answered. Was this our only option? Because it's Wilson, and it is a pretty large school, and I'm thinking traffic, if it's, depending on the school level, I know for high school, like when I go to drop off my daughter, I can sit in traffic for like 20 minutes to drop her off or pick her up, and it's not a super large school.
Good evening, Chairman Hammond, Commissioners. Commissioner Jimenez, this is the site that school has selected. So hopefully when they go through the development, they'll approach the city so we can come up with a solution as far as mitigating circulation, so you don't, you won't have to get stuck in traffic and while you're dropping your kids off and everything. But at this time, the roadways are designed such that they can accommodate the volume of traffic, both on Case Road will be widened to 4 lanes. Those plans are in plan check right now as part of a development of an industrial project. Watson Road will be connected to Case Road. Commissioner Chair Hammond, you indicated whether EMWD, what's going to happen there. There will be a roadway making that connection. And Murrieta Road as well will be connected to Ethernac Road. We're planning on signalizing those intersections to accommodate control at those intersections as well. So as far as volume of traffic, the roadways will be designed such that it can accommodate adequate travel lanes and so forth.
I just do want to add that we did get a letter, and maybe it was not part of the package report, but we did get a letter confirming that this is the site they wanted, and I'm assuming this is the acreage they wanted, the school site. Just historically, staff did work with the Roland School District for the site on Ethernac Road west of here. And so that conversation was had probably 8 or 10 years ago, and I was involved in those discussions. But they've never proceeded with building that school on Ethernac Road west of Getz. I don't know the exact reason why they didn't proceed with that, but we did have conversation about the project, about, my guess is 7 to 8 years ago.
Okay. That gives me peace of mind, just knowing that they did talk to the district. I don't know what the holdup is with them, but, if they're listening, encouraging them to think about their scholars and their staff and the families that have to drive their kids for pickup in the morning, drop off in the morning, pick up in the afternoon, and if they have after-school events. And then once they're 16, 17 years old, they're driving home by themselves. That's a pretty far drive for them.
Commissioner Jimenez, actually earlier on, when they approached the city with Nick and Matt, we specifically discussed the location of the school and, the congestion it may cause. But school, that's the site that they selected.
Wanted. And they do what they want. I know how school districts are. Okay. I guess, and I appreciate, I think it was Matt that said that they only asked for 10 acres and they provided 15. So that was my major holdup, and the traffic flow, what you were saying about the expansion and the open areas. There's going to be commercial close by. Okay, that's it for me.
Vice Chair Shively.
So being only 15 acres and most likely talking with the Menifee School District, it's unlikely it's going to be high school. So it's going to be junior high or elementary, or a shared site, perhaps, of both junior high and elementary school. But I do appreciate the fact that the City of Paris does need some additional affordable housing and apartment complexes to be able to support some of the lower income threshold of residents of City of Paris. So having that consolidate some of that area up there to supply some of that housing stock for us is much needed for the City of Paris. And I think that with City of Paris and the developer working with staff, they can actually work and develop the issues with the density and the impact of the drivability along Murrieta Road and that high density zone. So that's it.
Yeah, I appreciate it once again, and I've worked with you guys for a while, so it's nothing new. From the beginning, and I was one of the beginning ones that started with Green Valley, and when I saw the original, they weren't here, but I saw the original one, I was just wild by it then. And master plan community at that time was more of a, in 1990, I mean, that tells you how long it took. All the fluctuations in financing, all the fluctuations that went on in the 90s, they stopped building, because I was here in 1990. And these were just outside concepts, and they just built some houses. One of the things that I want to mention too is the constraints of you have to have multifamily. My personal preference is all that should be multifamily. No single family north of there. Why? The state of California. So let's not waste time with single family. That's my preference. No single family, all multifamily. And it can be done in such a way you don't just put, like La Jolla, where I went to, where 50,000 apartments. Didn't have to look like New York. But you can you can design so many type of housing types there that it doesn't make a lot of over density to where it looks like New York, where it looks like Chicago. But you can do it in such a way where, oh, that's nicely designed, not as much traffic. The other thing too, the schools, and I had kids in school too, they can't go to the parks, but after school, they could go. That's one of the outlets they have in those parks, as long as they're maintained. He did ask a question. They're for everyone and not just for a certain selected group of people. That's a big difference, and you need to let them know that. This isn't something you take a card and have to go into the park. This is something you should be able to have access to those parks just like anyone else. Unlike where you had a community center, like in Temecula, where you have to have a card and get into the pool and all that stuff. But this should be open to everyone. That's just my suggestion. Okay, so if it's not, we got a problem, right? I think the idea of the school there was a lot more planned in the past, but then all these constraints and things came about. Well, that's what the school wants, and Romaland we won't get into. But the idea is if they pick the site, I'm not sure if it would be high school, middle school, but there was a lot of more involved in the past. You just can't do it. It's up to the schools. I'm not going to get into it, but west of Getz Road is industrial, and I can't believe the school would ever even consider anything like that on the west of there. So let's drop that. You're not going to build next to industrial buildings, so that idea, throw it away now. Get rid of it. You're not going to build over here. So there's no way they're going to be next to industrial parks, and that's changed. So I think the whole idea, is the circulation is one of the big issues to take in consideration. You got a loop that's going around, but obviously Marietta Road is going to be major. Watson, because of the schools there, lighting, all those other things that will come up later. But it's got to be safety because you're going to have a school there. That's going to be a consideration. And Watson Road has to be done well, has to be done right. Also, you want them to connect to Metrolink. They're going to have that crossing. That's going to be another issue, another pocketbook issue for the city of Paris, right? So now you want to get the Case Road to the Metrolink station, you got to cross. So that's one of those engineering designs that I'm sure you're already talking about, but if it's going to stop there, you got to, unless you want the chicken crossing the road, right? So we think like this in very explicit detail because that's what we're representing you. We're representing the public. So we don't expect the public to go on the level that we read because we read everything, okay? Because we're just the general and then there's specific. In deductive reasoning, you learn this in college, it's general and then it's inductive. So you have the big picture, the smaller picture. That's the way we operate. Whenever anybody comes before us, know they're going to think about the general picture. What does it mean to community and what does it mean specific? So when we present something to the council at all, they don't have to go through all that. So I appreciate the staff. I appreciate this. You can work with the staff. The staff is great. You guys are great. We've been working for you a long time. Appreciate the project. I know there's a lot of paperwork. We don't want to be an obstacle to everything, but we have to question everything. And it's not because we don't like the project. We just have to do it. Okay. And then I think later on he'll discuss SB 330 and all the other issues about density and all that. I'm not going to go through that because that's not part of this. But I think the idea is that those things, the density units, is going to become an issue. It was when I worked in the city, and I did live in L.A. too. I worked in the city of L.A. I was with housing, believe it or not. So that's a massive joke in Los Angeles. I'm just telling you right now, it's a joke. Okay, and so density going from one block to another block, it can take an hour. And don't be downtown where I worked, okay? Because you're not getting anywhere. So I'm used to that. That makes this look kind of minuscule because this is not really enough. But that was bad. Forget the airport, okay? So we appreciate the community support. We understand this one. I don't have any problems with this one at all. I understand we had to move things around because of all those. It's not 1990, right? It's like we don't want those tan colors anymore, right? Jeez, gosh, get out of that earth tone crap, okay? From 1990. Let's get some variety of colors, variety of design. Stop with the earth tone stuff. We just told the developer, don't waste your time, because we're going to throw it out. Okay, so let's move up to the modern times, and all these concerns and all that stuff, I'm sure they will address, because I really respect these guys. Great park. Once that park gets open, everyone can use it, and they have open space. No complaints. Really appreciate it. So with that, I'm done. And unless there's any other comments or anything like that, okay, we're good. And with that, we move it to, if I can get it on the page. Huh? Yeah. Oh, okay, there we go. Pushing too many buttons here. Okay, we're ready. Now, I'm going to read both, so bear with me. Specific Plan Amendment 21-05125, a proposed specific plan amendment to update the Green Valley Specific Plan. For consistency with the Paris Valley Airport Land Use Compatibility Plan, requested action adopt resolution number 23-09, recommending that the City Council adopt a third addendum to the final environmental impact report of the Green Valley Specific Plan and approve Specific Plan Amendment 21-05125. Based on the findings contained in the resolution and subject to the conditions of approval. I don't believe we had any additions, or did we? No additions. You got lucky. Okay. You're ready. Mm-hmm. We need a motion. I don't know if we can. Yeah. Commissioner Lopez has moved.
I'll second.
And Vice Chair Shively, second.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes?
Vice Chair Shively,
Yes.
Chair Hammond.
Yes.
With 4 yeses and 0 nos, this motion passes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you. Okay. We move to item 7, business item. I don't know if there is any business item. And number 8, public comments. Anyone wishing to address the Planning Commission regarding items not on the agenda may do so at this time. And they are welcome to walk up to the podium. And each speaker will be given 3 minutes to address the Planning Commission. Since we don't have the Zoom anything, we can pretty much go with whoever comes up. So is there any public comment whatsoever on any issue, not even related to anything prior? Okay. Okay. Seeing none, we move on to item 9, commission members' announcements or reports. Anyone can start. Commissioner Lopez.
I'll go ahead. So we're going to be moving into Easter Sunday this weekend. So I just want to wish everybody a happy Easter. I know a lot of the kiddos right now are on spring break, so I just wish them a happy and safe spring break. Also, an announcement for an event that's going on April 22nd. It's going to be held right here at the city campus. It's going to be the Live Well Paris Health Fair. I was at the last one last year in April. It was lots of fun. They also host the 5K run. I'm going to be attending that one as well. So if anyone wants to race me, you should register. Registration is online at the city website. Just wanted to make that announcement. Besides that, thank you for everyone for showing up, and have a good night.
Thank you very much, so much. I know you got something, Commissioner Jimenez. For yours.
I know the city just had the Easter breakfast with the Easter Bunny this past Saturday. It seemed like there was a huge turnout. I wasn't able to make it, but I follow the city on social media, and I was able to see the pictures. I did want to ask our staff to see if they had any presentation they could do with resources for displaced community members. I was at the gas station on Monday, and I was approached by 5 different individuals. Friday morning, I know my daughter's also gone to that same corner for gas and has had to leave because she's only 17 and doesn't feel comfortable being approached by people asking for money. So I know Shell and Chevron, the one on Ramona, the little corner, yeah. So I don't know if we have anything available, like programs or assistance that we have for community members that we can provide resources for, because I know I would like to see if there's anything the city's doing for help. Other than that, I hope everybody's that's on break is enjoying their break. We go back to school on Tuesday. Do you guys notice I'm refreshed? Isn't that crazy? It's been a nice couple of days. Hoping everybody's enjoying the time with their family, whatever they're doing, they're enjoying time and reconnecting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vice Chair Chively.
So I would like to definitely wish everybody a good holiday and Easter. It comes on a Sunday. And also, this is not in Paris, but it is the March Air Force Reserve Base is at the air show will be occurring, I think it's the 18th to 22nd.
Oh, thank you. First, I want to thank the members of the public for coming tonight and voicing your opinions. We always appreciate members of the public coming, other than just us talking all the time. I want to thank staff, the city attorney, and definitely Lupita, who takes all these notes. You know, I don't know how you keep up with it, but she does. We talk a lot. And appreciate staff, because we know staff will work with the applicants, so we don't really have to worry. We just beat up staff a lot because we love them, right? But we're going to beat up on them anyway. So we'll call it staff abuse, whatever we call it. But when you do have that relationship with staff, when they sit in with these developers, they know how you think. Other cities really come to us and say, what do you do? Because we know our staff, and they know us. They wonder why they don't get along. They don't get along. We do. You have to know what staff is. You don't have to agree, but you have to know what they're thinking. They need to know what they're thinking. That's a model for all these other cities in Riverside County. They've got to know what we think, so when they sit with them, you don't waste a lot of time. We also have an ad hoc group that sits and does it. I don't have to be with them. They know how I think. I know how they think. That relationship is important for any city. The only request I have before I stop, and I know what you're going to bring up to you, one of the things I would like to see is a update on these projects that have been approved. Please, next meeting, I don't care what's on the agenda, we need to know what's been approved. I know they're starting to building it out. I know there's other apartments over there north on Paris Boulevard. I know they're building houses over on the Evans Road. No idea, but I mean, they're already approved. But when I talk about what's coming up and potential, but what's being built, because that update should be regular, really almost quarterly. But we really would like to see an update, because there's a lot of stuff going on. It's like, what's going on here? And we can't keep up with it. But you guys know when the schedule is, when they put in the stuff, they put in the permits. Like they're going to do Case Road widening. Should like to see how that's going to happen. But those kind of things are really important for us. So decisions are made based on a lot of these things. And overall, when you see the city, a lot of fast food stuff. But, we need to know these things are coming in, because it affects traffic, it affects circulation, it affects density, it affects all these other things. And apartments, now the state, and you're going to talk about the state in a minute. So other than that, wish everyone a good weekend. We see the sun out. It's due to rain next week, but we'll take what we can get now. We need to dry off a little bit. I appreciate it. And I'll get back into it. I'm just rehabbing on some surgery I had. I'm getting better. But I won't be running a mile yet. But I'm getting there. But I appreciate staff and all the support I've got from the city. It's really wonderful city. You really don't realize how much support we get from staff. Some cities complain. We don't complain. So really thank you. Now, at this time, I'll move it on to our Director of Community Services reports and our Director of Planning, whoever wants to start.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and we hear you loud and clear. I won't repeat the two events that were announced by the Commission, but I do want to add that we have 2 Planning Commission seats that will term out or expired on June 30th. So applications will open up soon, so keep that in mind. Also for Planning Commission, on August 19th, April 19th, I'm already ahead I'm 2 steps ahead of myself. April 19th, you're going to like this. We're going to bring to your, for your consideration, the residential objective design guidelines and a development update. You were reading our minds.
Can you, will you make sure that we get those as early as possible?
Yes, we'll do. With that said, I want to wish everyone a happy Easter. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. And no director has something.
Yeah, I'll just give you some brief updates. In and Out is grading right now on Nuevo Road if you drove by, so they're starting. Other than that, as Patricia mentioned, we have an April 19th Planning Commission meeting. Other updates are, just in terms of response to Jimenez, there are programs for the homeless. Unfortunately, a lot of the people you see out there don't take advantage of the benefits or the program that we direct them to. Most of the issues are mental issues. That's why they choose not to get help. And so that's the reason why. But we do offer them options to get help if they need it, if they really wanted that. Other than that, I wish there was harassment training. No, just joking. We don't want Patricia to file a complaint. But I think she got used to you guys, so it's all in good fun. So with that said, just have a good evening and have a good Easter.
Thank you very much, and thank IT, who's still awake. I'm sure they're still awake. They do a great job at IT. They often did overlooked, but they really sit back in the room back there. And our interpreter there, I see him again. I haven't seen you in a while. Yeah, yeah. Well, I've been gone. I think I just haven't seen it yet. And with that, it's time for adjournment, unless someone else has something. Okay. Time for adjournment. I don't think we'll have any objections, so literally you can just pick anybody if you want. Thank you very much. Good night. Have a good rest of the night, and we'll see you on I almost said August. April 19th. Thanks.